Hello, in this series of videos I'm going to talk about and demonstrate some approaches to brass playing based on my experience. So warming up. When we have band rehearsals, we usually start with a hymn and we do that to warm up as a band. But ideally each player will have warmed up before we play anything together as a group. And certainly when you're doing a practice session at home, you should always be warming up before you really get into the start of it. If you're going for a jog, you wouldn't just suddenly start jogging. You'd do a little bit of flexing to warm up first, and it's exactly the same with playing. And there's a few things to warm up. There's the physical aspect of actually warming up the instrument. The instrument is just one big long tube full of air. The air itself needs to be warmed up because air at different temperatures will respond differently with vibrations. So we need the air to be warm before the vibrations in the air come out nicely, which is why we don't sound very good when we're cold, but we sound much better when we've warmed up. There's also the physical thing. There's tubas particularly are big lumps of metal, and they take a bit of time to heat up a bit. The other things that we're warming up are our lips. Again, if you're going to go for a jog and you don't do anything to warm up the muscles in your legs, then you're probably going to start hurting after a while. And the same is true with the lips. There's so many muscles in the lips and the face that if you've not done anything to ease those into the act of playing, then you're going to end up hurting at some point. The other thing is to warm up the fingers. We use our fingers for all sorts of things, but we don't necessarily use them in the same way that we do when we're playing the instruments. We might work with computers for a living and do a lot of typing, but typing like that is different from playing like that. We also use our different fingers in different for different valves. So some are stronger than others. The third valve finger, so that finger is usually not as strong as the first valve finger. So we need to do a little bit of work just to think about that. The other thing that we're warming up is our minds. And we need to go through a process of getting from anything that we've been doing or thinking about before we're playing to a different mental state for when we are playing. Different level of concentration we're listening at for different things. We're concentrating on some things and we're disregarding others. So we can demonstrate some of that now. The thing that I like to do when I'm warming up, before I do any scales or anything like that, is just some long notes. And I'll do a couple now. I won't play them quite as long as I would normally, just for sake of boredom. But I would start on a G in the middle of the stave. And when I play those notes, and something I was taught by my teacher, is to just think entirely about the noise that I'm making. So the noise that I'm starting here at the mouth, and the noise that's coming out at the top of the tuba, and all the things that connect that. So I'm putting air through my lips into the mouthpiece. That's going down the very centre of this tube. The mouth pipe is going all the way down here. And that column of air is what creates the sound, and I'm trying my best to keep that as level and as even as I can. there's a lot of talk these days about mindfulness, meditation, and I think there's an element of that as well. So when I'm thinking about these notes, and I'm really concentrating on trying to keep a, a consistent, straight, pure note, um, I'm doing my best to shut out everything else that's going on around me. So all I'm doing, all of everything I'm thinking about is that note. I'm not really thinking about anything else. Um, and I find that very useful when I'm preparing for playing at a competition or even a concert. Um, I use that as a way of controlling my nerves. I get nervous. Everyone gets nervous before they play. I find that very helpful, just to concentrate purely on the notes that I'm playing. So I would play that G, and then I'm going to go down the scale chromatically to try and warm up each valve. So the next one would be the second valve, so an F sharp. I'll play that for longer. F natural, first valve. Now the next note would be an E, and I would probably play that twice, because the first time I play it on 1 and 2, because I want to warm up both of these first and second valves. But then I play it again on third valve. That's the alternate fingering for an E, because I also want to warm up this third valve. And the third valve doesn't get used as much really as the other two, so it's quite important to think about warming that up properly. So I'll just do that one. Then an E flat, so second and third. And then a D. Now, on this E flat bass, so on tubas, euphoniums, some baritones, we have the luxury of a fourth valve. And in the same way that I did the E natural twice with different valve combinations, I'd probably do the same with the D. So first of all, I do it on 1 and 3. And then again on the fourth valve. Then a C sharp or D flat, C sharp, D flat, which again I can use a fourth valve, but if you don't have a fourth valve, then you'd use just 1, 2, and 3 altogether. So I might do that again then on fourth valve and second. That's the combination for the C sharp. That may not come across as much, but you might be able to hear that there's a bit of a difference in the tuning between the C sharp when I'm playing it with the fourth valve and when I'm playing it with all 3 valves down. And that little tiny difference in the intonation between those 2 notes is one of the reasons that we have the fourth valve. It helps us just overcome some of the problems with tuning. And then the last thing would be a C natural. And I play those notes probably for a lot longer than that. I'd either count out so many beats in my head, maybe use a metronome, but probably just do it in my head, or I would base it all on the breath. So a full lungful of air on each note. Okay, if you spend what could be up to 10 minutes just playing long notes like that, if you're really just concentrating on producing the note and nothing else that's going on around you, you'll find yourself quite relaxed and quite warmed up at the end of it. And after I've done that, I would do some scales, and I'm going to do another video where I'm going to talk about my approach to scales, but let's just do a few. One or two wrong notes in there, or at least a split, but I won't worry too much about that for now.